Hello and welcome to another video by FPL Chats. My name's Josh, and today I want to run through all about some differential transfers leading up to the World Cup. These are players who are lowly owned in the game. So if you've got any mini league rivals that you want to beat, and you want to try and either get ahead of them or you want to try and catch them, this video might be able to help you. Let's get into it. So first up here we've got the defense. So I wanted to when I was making this video, I wanted to try and find players from teams that have been defending well, um, but also have reasonably good fixtures leading up to the World Cup. So first of all, we've got Cody. Um, the titles at the top, XGA, that stands for expected goals against. So yeah, what opposition teams were expected to score against Everton, against Man United, against Chelsea. Then SHA zones is shots against and the zones that those shots were taken in by the opposition again. So uh, I've been quite impressed with Everton's defending since the start of the season. Actually, they rarely concede more than one goal, and Cody and Tarkowski are big reasons for that. They have been the players that Frank Lampard's brought in, two English internationals who like know the game so well. They're from teams that used to defend very well. So Wolves, where Cody's from, and then Burnley, where Tarkowski's from. So yeah, I think they're nicknamed the Dads in the Everton squad as well. So yeah, it just kind of shows what kind of leadership they have, and I think Cody is I've gone for Cody over Tarkowski purely because he had an expected goals for more than Tarkowski basically. So it could have been either of them. So expected goals against. So Everton are expected to concede 18.5 goals in the games that they've played so far, which I think is 10 games. So maybe nearly 2 goals a game conceding, which isn't ideal expected wise. When you move on to the shots against zone, so they've conceded 15 shots in their own 6-yard box. They've conceded 115 shots inside the penalty box, and then 51 shots outside the box. So yeah, from that kind of reading, 115 shots inside the box is significantly more than the next two I'm going to be talking about. Luke Shaw of Manchester United, I think Ten Hag has really kind of shored them up at the back. Shored them up at the back. Wait. And I think it's mostly been since that Brentford game where they lost 4-0. After the Spurs game last night, Ten Hag was speaking to the press, and he said it starts with organisation. Even though they've been looking good in attack, he said it starts with organisation, and then they can work on the attack. So that's something that, yeah, I think he's takes a lot of pride in, and the players should as well. Luke Shaw has taken his left back spot back off of Malacia, I think is pronounced. Yeah, and Shaw is a much better attacking threat. When he's on the pitch, he's a very creative weapon. Luke Shaw is when he's on top form, he's one of the best left backs in the league. He's currently cheap, I believe, because he hasn't been starting. I should have put the prices on here. Sorry, guys. But yeah, so for the team, expected goals against for Luke Shaw is 13, which is the best out of these three teams here. So that's within 10 games, so nearly a goal a game, just over a goal a game. It's not too bad. They have conceded more shots inside the 6-yard box than any of the other teams on here, which is interesting. So it's 17 shots inside their own 6-yard box, 76 shots inside the penalty box, and 45 outside of it. Moving on to Azpilicueta, he if you want to, well, it's difficult to know whether he'll be starting game to game. So he's a bit more of a risk than the other two, I would say, purely because Potter, um, yeah, he's been tinkering with the selection a lot. Um, but Chelsea as a team have been defending much more better than Cody and Shaw in United and Everton, with 13 shots conceded in the 6 yard box and 59 shots conceded in the penalty box, and just 31 shots outside the box. So yeah, Chelsea are conceding like considerably less shots than the other two teams, and that's probably because they have a more possession during each game. So a bit like Man City, they have good defensive numbers because they keep the ball so well. So yeah, something to consider there. I've been watching a few Chelsea games recently as well. Aspilicueta has looked like a new player under Potter. He's been really good. A bit like Shaw, who has found form lately. I think these two players have been in good form. Yeah, so just a couple of honourable mentions for the defence. The Newcastle defence has been brilliant. They seem like there's a real togetherness in that Newcastle defence. They when they kept a clean sheet last night against Everton, the cameras spotted the four defenders and Pope, all kind of hugging each other as if it was like those five that were really like they just seemed like they were so proud of that clean sheet, and I think that just bodes well for the future games. Wolves defense. Wolves have traditionally always been a solid defense, and they've also got some good fixtures coming up as well. Sarr, who's the goalkeeper, he made a penalty save recently, uh, and yeah, I would back Wolves to keep another couple of clean sheets leading up to the World Cup. So moving on to midfielders. So another Manchester United player, in Marcus Rashford. So I actually brought in Rashford about 5 weeks ago, and it was for the Man City game, and I instantly regretted it. He was just absent in that game, and I very reactively took him out again. I wasn't punished for it. He hasn't actually scored since. But watching the Spurs Manchester United game last night, Rashford was very dangerous. He should have scored, really. There was a couple of big chances for him to score. And that might have contributed to Ronaldo walking off the pitch before the final whistle blew. Ronaldo not coming on to play. Yeah, Ten Hag opted in with other players like Elanga. Um, but that is a very interesting kind of situation for Rashford and his opportunity, I would say, in the coming game weeks, because I wouldn't expect Ronaldo to play after that incident last night, and Martial is currently injured, so Rashford is probably going to be the starting number 9 for Manchester United, and he probably got a lot less rotation risk than some of the other players. And yeah, I just think it's a good opportunity for anyone who's wanting to go for a Manchester United player, attacking player. Rashford is a cheap option for what he can bring as well. He has the potential for hauls, so I would suggest that, yeah, for I think 6.5 million, he's a very, very, very good option. His expected goals involvement, so XGI, expected goals and involvement, um, which is basically goals and assists combined, is 6.1 in about 9 or 10 matches I think he's played. So that's pretty good. Maybe like, I think that's yeah, like 2/3 of a goal a game. And then his actual goals and assists is 3 and 2. So he's underperforming his XG, which that kind of tells me he's due a goal. So yeah, Rashford looks really good. Then moving on to Eze in Crystal Palace. Um, they've hit a little bit of form recently. They beat Leeds, they beat Wolves, both at home, mind you. They drew to Leicester, which was probably disappointing for them. Eze was one of those players at the start of the season that everybody loves, but he doesn't seem to get the efficient. Yeah, it doesn't seem to be efficient in his end product. He didn't seem to be getting many goals and assists because he was playing more deep, maybe the odd long shot here and there. But recently, he's really taken up a more attacking role. He's been making runs into the box far more frequently. That was helped against Wolves when Zaha came more inside and Eze got space to kind of make his runs. So yeah, maybe this is the start of something good for Eze. He scored against Leeds, he scored against Wolves. Yeah, and he's a very, very talented player. So currently he's on 2 goals and 2 assists and an XGI of 3.7. So he's pretty much bang on his expected goal involvement. Yeah, in terms of Palace as an overall attacking side, I would say Manchester United are a better attacking side. The data does support that as well. And but having said that, Crystal Palace have some really good fixtures coming up. I would have showed you, but yeah, I didn't have enough space on the graphic this time round. So Almiron, he is in a great bit of form. So in Newcastle, and that's why he's on here really. Remember, these are differentials, so these are lowly owned players, and yeah, some of these players I think would be worth a punt for the lead up to the World Cup. Anyway, Almiron is on 4.7 expected goal involvement. So yeah, kind of in between Rashford and Eze. And he himself has got 5 goals, which is very impressive considering the most he scored in a season was 4 prior to this season. So yeah, Almiron's looking great. Newcastle looking great. 4.7 expecting goal involvement and 5 goals and assists, so just goals for him. Again, pretty much smack on his expected goal involvement. Next are the forwards. So in this forwards list, you can see I've put in 2 Liverpool players, which at the start of the season, if you told me I was going to be suggesting 2 Liverpool strikers, yeah, there's no way I would have thought that would happen. But because of Liverpool's recent formation change and because of the injuries to Jota and Diaz, Darwin and Firmino are starting together now. They're along with Salah, along with Carvalho in that West Ham game. And yeah, they're both putting up fantastic numbers. So with Darwin, we've got 5.5 expected goal involvement, and that's only in 7 games. Some of those are off the bench as well. So that's hugely impressive. That's probably like around a goal involvement a game. His actual goal and assist output is 3 goals and 1 assist. So yeah, he's actually underperforming, and that tells me, similar to Rashford, he's maybe due to score. He's also looking good. I mean, I watched him in the West Ham game, and he was the main man. He was popping shots off from everywhere. Yeah, he was having a really good time. Seems like he's the type of player that would really love playing at home as well. So I'm personally desperate to bring him in, but I'd have to make some sacrifices if I did. And so they've got Nottingham Forest and Leeds in the next 2, Liverpool. So you can kind of smell goals there, especially for Darwin, and maybe the same for Firmino as well. So Firmino expected goal involvement of 6.9, which is excellent. He's played nearly all the games, so yeah, around 9 or 10, and his goal and assist output is fantastic for this stage in the season. 6 goals and 3 assists for Firmino. Yeah, which again is just unheard of for a player like Firmino, who's used to being that false 9. He's dropping in and helps out defensively massively. But he's really kind of thrived in this season. It's great to see, actually. Yeah, so Firmino, great option. And whilst Jota and Diaz are out, I mean, I expect these 2 Liverpool players to get a lot of minutes. Finally, on the forwards list, we've got Edouard. Um, so another Crystal Palace attacker. And as I said, Crystal Palace's team kind of expected goals is not as high as teams like Liverpool, Manchester United. Um, However, they have started coming to some form. Edouard seems to be that player who kind of knits things together. He can drift out wide sometimes when Zaha comes inside. He likes the ball to feet a lot of the time, and then kind of in that number 10 position, kind of just looking for the pass, the offload, and then the 1-2 with somebody. He's also scored a couple of goals from free kicks being crossed in as well. So yeah, Edouard seems to be quite an all-round player. I actually own Edouard as well. He's brought an assist since I brought him in. Yeah, 2.6 goals. Expected goal involvement is low, however. So yeah, I mean, it's not. Yeah, in like 9 or 10 games, 2.6. You're talking like 0.25 goals a game or goal involvement a game, so not even goals necessarily. Yeah, it's quite low. So, but having looked at his goals and assists, you can see 2 goals and 2 assists. So he's outperforming his XGI. Yeah, which you can look at. You know, depends the way you look at it. You could look at it and say he's being very clinical with his chances. So when he does get a chance, he converts it. Um, yeah, or you can say that okay, well he's not getting into high XGA positions, which means he's less likely to score. So yeah, as in from what I've looked at, from how I've watched him as an owner myself, he's not, I would say, getting into like lots of goal scoring positions. But yeah, as in he has been like kind of clinical in it when he does basically. So yeah, honourable mentions for the forwards is Diego Costa. I just think that he looks so frustrated coming off against Palace, and that frustration was purely based on his own performance. So that makes me think, well, he does care. He cares a lot, and I think that he won't uh, accept not doing something for the team soon. I think that Wolves have got some pretty good fixtures coming up. So I think they got Leicester at some point, but yeah, I think maybe Costa is an outside chance, and he's very cheap as well. I think he's like 5.5 million. Also, Dominic Calvert-Lewin just back from injury. He started and played 70 minutes in the Newcastle game. He looked a bit off it in the first half, but in the second half he was putting himself about and causing problems for Newcastle. So I expect Dominic Calvert-Lewin to play a few games for Everton in the coming weeks. They also have very, very good fixtures. I think Everton's fixtures are probably the best of the teams coming up. Yeah, I'll go back to the midfield because there were some honourable mentions. So you got Gordon of Everton, who Gordon I thought looked very lively against Newcastle last night. I think that he hasn't been playing well, but he's had that break, he had that suspension, and I just think that he might be back on it now. He probably realizes that he's not been performing so well. That I'm just getting that kind of feeling from him just by watching that Newcastle game. He was really, really up for it, and I'm not just saying that. I did own him actually about 3 or 4 game weeks ago, and he was super frustrating. But I can see something coming back now. And then Anthony of Manchester United. So along with Rashford, another Man United attacking player who I think is Rashford has I would say has been more wasteful, and actually Anthony's been the more clinical player. Anthony I would say is the player on form out of the two, but Rashford being used in that number 9 position, in that forward position, but he's tagged as a midfielder on FPL. I think there's a lot of value which could go well for him. Yeah, but thank you again for watching, everybody. yeah, I'll be making more videos soon. And yeah, any questions, anything that you agree with or disagree with, feel free to comment it. I'd be very grateful if you gave a like to the video as well. And subscribe if you want to as well. You know, do it all. Why not? Thanks, guys. Take care and see you soon.